The sound of rain drummed softly against the tall glass windows of Sterling Enterprises, blurring the city lights into a watercolor of gold and silver. Inside, the rhythm of clicking keyboards and the low hum of printers filled the air. But in her corner office on the top floor, CEO Amanda Sterling wasn't focused on the numbers flashing on her laptop. Her sharp eyes, the same ones that had built one of the country's fastest-growing corporations, were fixed on something else, something that had been bothering her for weeks. Every Friday, without fail, the janitor, an older man named Samuel, would leave exactly at 4 p.m., not a minute later, not a minute earlier. While everyone else was expected to stay until 6, sometimes longer, he quietly disappeared after finishing just half his routine. No one questioned it. No one dared. But Amanda had noticed. She noticed everything. It wasn't that she distrusted him. Samuel had been with the company for nearly 8 years, never complained, never took a sick day, never caused trouble. Yet something about that quiet, predictable departure gnawed at her. It wasn't laziness. His work was spotless. It wasn't rebellion. He was far too humble. No, there was something deeper, something hidden behind those kind eyes and that tired smile. And Amanda Sterling, who built her empire on precision and discipline, wasn't one to let mysteries linger. So one rainy Friday, she decided to follow him. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, humility, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel for more heart-touching stories like this. It really helps us reach more hearts like yours. Amanda waited in her car across the street, the rain blurring her windshield as Samuel emerged from the side door of the building. His uniform was slightly oversized, the faded blue shirt neatly tucked in, and his cap pulled low over his silver hair. He carried a small brown paper bag and walked with a limp that she hadn't noticed before. Instead of heading toward the main bus stop or parking lot, he turned down a narrow side street, one that led away from downtown. Amanda frowned, curiosity growing stronger by the second. She started the car and followed from a distance. The further they drove, the more the cityscape dissolved into quieter neighborhoods. Cracked sidewalks replaced polished marble, and neon lights gave way to flickering street lamps. Samuel finally stopped in front of a small, rundown building with peeling paint and an old wooden sign that read, Willow Community Center. Amanda parked a few blocks away and watched as he went inside. After a minute, curiosity overcame hesitation. She pulled her coat tighter and followed him in. The inside was dimly lit, smelling faintly of disinfectant and crayons. Laughter echoed from a room down the hall. Amanda's heels clicked against the floor as she peeked around the corner, and what she saw froze her where she stood. Samuel was kneeling beside a row of children sitting on the floor, their faces glowing with excitement. Some were in wheelchairs, others wore bandages or breathing aids. The air was filled with the sweet chaos of crayons, paper, and giggles. He was showing them how to fold paper cranes, his rough hands trembling slightly as he guided a little boy's fingers. Amanda's chest tightened. The janitor she thought she knew was not sneaking away early for himself. He was spending his Fridays volunteering at a children's hospice. She watched as he unpacked sandwiches from his paper bag, handing them out with quiet joy. There was no audience, no recognition, no praise, just a man with tired eyes and a gentle heart, doing what he could for those who needed it most. She stood there for several minutes, unnoticed, feeling something stir deep inside her, a mix of guilt, admiration, and awe. Amanda Sterling, the woman who built an empire on efficiency and control, had spent years too busy for anything that didn't fit neatly into a calendar. Yet here was a man earning a fraction of her salary, giving away his most precious asset, his time, with complete humility. She slipped away silently before anyone noticed. That night, Amanda sat in her penthouse apartment, the city spread out before her like a constellation of ambition. But she couldn't shake the image of Samuel's smile as he knelt with those children. The next Monday, she called her HR director and asked to see Samuel's file. It was thin, too thin for someone who'd been with the company 8 years. No family listed, no emergency contacts, just a birth date, an address in a poor part of town, and spotless performance reviews. Later that day, Amanda asked him to come to her office. When he arrived, he looked nervous, wringing his cap in his hands as though afraid of being reprimanded. Amanda smiled gently, something rare for her, and told him she simply wanted to talk. She didn't mention what she'd seen. Instead, she asked about his life, his background. Bit by bit, his story came out. Samuel had once been a mechanic, running a small workshop with his wife. But when she fell ill with cancer, medical bills swallowed everything. He sold the shop, the car, even their home. She passed away 3 years later, leaving him with nothing but a deep ache and a promise he'd made to her, to keep giving love where it's needed most. That promise had led him to the children's hospice. Every Friday he volunteered there, teaching crafts, fixing broken toys, and cooking simple meals. He used what little money he had to buy snacks for the kids, often skipping dinner himself. Amanda listened quietly, her throat tightening. There was something about the way he spoke, soft, measured, uncomplaining, that struck her more deeply than any business success story ever could. That evening, after Samuel left, she sat by her office window long after everyone had gone home. She thought about her own life, how she had climbed the ladder of success only to find herself standing alone at the top. Her marriage had crumbled under the weight of her ambition. Her friends had faded away as she buried herself in work. And though she had everything money could buy, she suddenly realized how little she had given back. The next Friday, Amanda showed up at the community center. This time she didn't hide. The children's faces lit up as Samuel introduced her, his eyes twinkling with surprise and pride. She rolled up her sleeves and helped distribute sandwiches, clumsy but earnest as she joined their art session. When one of the children handed her a crayon drawing of a smiling stick figure holding a paper crane, Amanda felt her heart crack open in the most beautiful way. Over the next few months, her visits became regular. She funded repairs for the aging building, brought in new toys, and arranged medical supplies through the company's charity branch. But she didn't stop there. Amanda also started a new internal initiative at Sterling Enterprises called Hands of Hope, giving employees paid time off to volunteer in their communities. What started as a small program soon grew into something transformative. Departments once divided by hierarchy began to work together outside the office, bonded by compassion rather than competition. For Samuel, the change was overwhelming. He never wanted recognition, yet Amanda ensured his quiet legacy was honored. One morning, she gathered the entire company in the lobby and announced the Sterling Heart Award, dedicated to employees who went above and beyond in kindness and service. The first recipient was Samuel. When his name was called, he looked around in disbelief, tears welling in his eyes as applause filled the hall. Amanda handed him the award, a small glass heart etched with the words, "Kindness never goes unnoticed." But what touched him most wasn't the recognition. It was what she whispered as she shook his hand. "Thank you for reminding me what really matters." That night after the ceremony, Amanda drove Samuel home. The sky was painted in shades of lavender and gold as they passed through the quieter streets. When they reached his modest apartment, he smiled and said softly, "You didn't have to do all this, ma'am." Amanda looked at him, her voice tender. "Maybe I didn't, but you did something for me, Samuel. You reminded me that true leadership isn't about building empires, it's about building hearts." He nodded, eyes glistening. "Then I guess we both found what we were looking for." The weeks that followed brought even more change. The children's hospice flourished with new funding and volunteers. Sterling Enterprises earned not just profit, but purpose. And Amanda, once the untouchable CEO, found herself transformed by the quiet magic of service and gratitude. One late afternoon, she visited the hospice alone. Samuel was in the garden, surrounded by the children as they folded paper cranes together. The sunlight glowed on his face, peaceful and content. When he saw her, he smiled, that same gentle, knowing smile she would never forget. In that moment, Amanda realized something profound, that the greatest acts of humanity are often the ones no one sees. The janitor who left early wasn't escaping responsibility. He was teaching the world what love looked like when no one was watching. And from that day on, Amanda made sure his story would never be forgotten. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who could use a little hope, and subscribe to our channel for more real, emotional stories that remind us of the power of kindness. Before we end, we'd love to hear from you. What lesson did you take from Samuel's story? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because sometimes the people we overlook end up teaching us the most unforgettable lessons of all.